Alright guys, hopefully you can see this video okay. This is the Jeep Hoist version 2, I guess if you will. The first time I built it, just to give you guys a reference point, don't know if you can tell, it may be dark, hopefully the light will give you some idea. So this is the frame that I built originally, and the idea was those two loops would connect in the center and it would pull from the center, give it some stability. Problem was I was using two come-along straps to go through the top long ways. If you can picture, front to back, going through the back glass. Now the advantage to that was it would let me keep the glass closed, but the problem is I felt like over the long term, essentially the full weight of this top is in the rear. So if you imagine two come-along straps, which were, two, I mean, you can see them over there on the ground, they're probably about 2 to 3 inches wide, in two places on that weather stripping, holding pretty much the entire weight at the top over the long term. Just felt like that was going to cause some leaks. So I wanted to revamp this and give it a second shot. So I went to Lowe's again. Actually, I've gone a couple different times, but I finally got this sucker put together. I'm going to go ahead and raise it up to give you guys the underside view, but essentially you've got these bars that you can get at Lowe's, Home Depot. And I've got essentially a T that I constructed there in the center with brackets. Got some padding, zip tied so it doesn't scratch the roof. And what you see kind of going underneath, don't know if I can get down and show you, but essentially it's a U-bolt, a square U-bolt that I cut one side off and put a rubber grommet to give it some padding so when it touches the ceiling or the roof, it doesn't put an indentation or scratch it. Exact same concept on the rear, except there's just a single, going in. Now, the one disadvantage to this was you got to leave the back glass open because that U-bolt is too thick to close the glass. So what I had to do from the other day is, if you look up at the ceiling, so obviously these are all in, studs and beams, but I started with just the two pulleys, and then if you can visualize that one in the middle right now would go straight down. Problem was that wouldn't give me enough clearance or the angle to be able to leave the top open or the back open. So I had to install a third one, which goes straight down. And it actually goes down to, you're never gonna be able to see this, it's too dark, but way at the back, anchored to the actual concrete floor with about 3 or 4 concrete bolts, is a little ATV winch with a wireless remote. So what's nice about that is, as you can imagine, I don't have to have something hanging from the roof, or I don't have to have a wire. I can literally just raise the top. Now, those two little strings that you see kind of anchored here at the corners, the idea behind that was they're hooked onto the cable with a carabiner to give it the ability to slide up and down, but the idea there is to try to keep the top from pivoting and rotating, seeing as how now I'm essentially hoisting it from one central point and it's just a T, whereas, if you look at the other one, that gave me a little bit more stability where it kind of balanced the rotation, from right to left. So anyway, so here we go. We're going to hoist this guy and see what this looks like fully, raised to the ceiling, and I'll take some pictures underneath. And there you go. Don't see it crashing, don't see it collapsing, so we're all good. No, I'm just kidding, I've done this several times, so if it was gonna already crash, it would have done it by now. So if you kind of get the idea, this gives it tons of clearance, and maybe you can get a better idea of, how I've got these. They're just barely coming through, so you get plenty of clearance to actually be able to put the top back on. If you can see it from this angle, see it just barely goes under. And then on the rear, same concept, right? So this guy just comes through, and if you can't tell, right there on this isn't just metal or stainless steel. I actually took some vinyl tubing and put on there to give it a soft cushion, where it actually touches the top. And you can kind of see the little slide that I created here with these little drawstrings just to keep tension in right to left angles. That way it's not just sitting up here spinning, you know, in circles. So this is my homemade do-it-yourself Jeep hoist top, you know, or top hoist, if you will. And, you know, it's kind of tough to give you a good clearance angle, and sorry for all the walking around, but trying to give you an idea of how high it gets it in the garage. So you can see the ceiling and you see how much clearance I've got. And when I pull the Jeep in, I'll probably just take some pictures, probably won't do another video, but when you pull the Jeep in, it's tons of clearance. I can pull in forward and it's not anywhere close to touching the vehicle. And I mean, the Jeep already is lifted 3 inches, 3.5 inches actually with 35. So, you know, it's not like it's fits through that garage door with a ton of extra clearance. So clearance is definitely comes at a premium in this garage. So this is a great, you know, solution. Home Depot, Lowe's, you can probably do this whole kit minus the winch for, you know, I think I spent $100 on supplies. Now the stuff adds up pretty quick though. I mean, you know, you've got to be, you know, frugal with what you're spending and what you're going to buy, because again, I'm in this probably more than 100 at this point because I've essentially done it twice. You know, I built the first one and I didn't like the way the finished product was. And unfortunately, I've already painted that one with some of that plastic paint or plasti dip, if you will, to give it sort of a cushion texture in an effort to try to keep from scratching any paint. So I can't really return any of those pieces. So anyway, lesson learned. But you can see the thing is up there, it's solid, it's not moving at all, you know, perfectly stable. Perfect solution, guys. I mean, there's, you know, tons of ways to skin this cat. I've seen several different, you know, varieties of how they've created this T-bar. You know, some people just did come along straps where literally, you know, you start here and you go straight back and come out one side. Same thing over here, which is the way I did it the first time, by the way. I've also seen people come with straps just right around this corner and go right out that back corner just with straps and lift it from essentially 2 places. Some people have looped it together in the middle, and some people have actually had 2 separate lift points to keep it stable. And if you did that, you wouldn't have to worry about the rotation, of course. But for me, I already had the winch in place. That's one piece I didn't have to worry about buying. And that winch was originally actually used to pull my bass boat in the garage due to extreme clearance issues on either side, very narrow garage. So I bought this winch to actually help me park the boat. So it worked out great for this purpose. And this is my review of the homemade DIY Jeep top hoist. I'll try to write a little review on my blog and give you guys some links to the pieces that I used and, you know, maybe a step here or there about actually how to construct it. But hopefully you've enjoyed this video, and thanks for watching. Have a good day.